Ladies and gentlemen, we are accessing your criminal record is not the employer's way to continue the punishment you have done, the sentence that you have done. It is the only way to get some information from you that you have made a wrong decision long time ago, and it's now you want to move on to a new level of your life. So it is only the awareness for us, the company, to have the information that you have made a wrong decision. So, as the third speaker of the negative team, I'm going to take the best possible case scenario for Team Affirmative. Let's assume that this individual committed a crime at age of 18 for having sex with 14 years old, is now applying for a job to be an accountant. What do we know about this individual? We know that in specific period of their life, despite being bound by social norms, they thought their satisfaction was more important. We know at that time is despite society's adjudication was his goals of the position to be upset that sexual relationship. They demanded what they wanted. They ran against what other people's expectation of their worth. They were unreliable and untrue to those around them. Insofar as that's true, we think that compared to someone who has not done those crimes, that are relatively less worthy employee. Insofar as first speaker Affirmative said the integrity was important characteristic when you're hiring someone, but let's not pretend that it is the most likely characterization. The linear instance where was a client was not as significant to be a long time ago. That would be mattered that much of an employee. This debate is about the right employers not to be imposed by the state to do their duty to defend other citizens from criminality, but to defend the citizens most close to the employer. For example, their co-workers and their employees from the risk of criminality. There are three questions I want to ask in today's debate. The first, it is relevant. Is this relevant? The second, is having job required for rehabilitation and reintegration? The third is minority, question mark. Firstly, is this relevant? This is definitely relevant. When you have a thief manning the till and Team Affirmative discussed about preclude CEO from this job, this could be true in many ways. We agreed that this is just right thing to do. But let's talk about irrelevant criminality that supposedly exists in today's debate. We thought this is relevant for a number of reasons. So when you apply to be accountant, but long time ago, you commit sexual harassment to someone underage, you say that it is relevant, but it's still relevant because when you have a family working in one environment with the sexual offender, even if they did it long time ago, they still have the potential to do it in the future. So the reason is protection. Team Affirmative needs to prove to us that the crime is incredibly most likely to occur in the workplace. Team Affirmative making exemption for child sex abuse was because the risk was high. So questions for negative is how high this risk has to be. We say we didn't have to clear absolute barrier, only a relative criminals. One have criminal record and other don't. You are relatively exposing the employee that you have responsibility to a higher level of criminality. But even if that's not true, you could rely on this relative in today's debate. We think individuals who have committed rape by the knowledge of recidivism will most likely commit a rape again, from what I said before. By looking at the most significant context, the female co-workers might feel that the person who they entrusted to take into consideration the situation their employee versus non-rapist in today's debate. Affirmative team also say that the crime only occur in the workplace when it matters. We say that it is bad for your business if your employee are convicted of committing an act of rape on their own time, and we think it is incredibly damaging for your brand or image. Propensity to drugs. This ex-criminal employee was less reliable. They are relevant consideration. The second is integrity in general. The first speaker of the Affirmative team said that it is it is the most eligibility if you have integrity at your workplace. But when you committed a crime, you value your self-worth about other people, and ultimately in those instances you violated people's trust. In certain crimes you violated people's rights to be respectable. We think those instances are incredibly important, but when these instances are least relevant, the integrity still matters. In general, we are fine if employers are asking some questions on moral integrity to all employees. The third, it is about Affirmative Team also argue about that it is arbitrary to exclude children. We say it is not. It is not because insofar it is arbitrary. It is arbitrary to not send children to maximum security prison for life. Like, yes, it is arbitrary distinction, but it is based on arbitrary age of 16, representing metaphorically where we need some legal consent, and below that we have different form of punishment. If they want to buy the same logic, try children as an adult. The fourth is employee making arbitrary decision, self-inflicted disability. So let me ask, is it more like disability in this sense, or is it more like academic when they apply for everyday job, being forced to tell their employers that they had past cases of plagiarism? Is it more like someone who has gone bankrupt being forced under the law to future employee and they want to play guilty with them? This is not disability. These people making choices unlikely the same. But if you were open to discrimination, so fourth is employee making arbitrary decision, self-inflicted disability. Let me ask you, is it more like disability in this sense, or is it more like academic when they apply for everyday job, being forced to tell their employers that they had past cases of plagiarism? This is not a disability. They only make a wrong decision long time ago. But still, they have to take rehabilitation, and when they apply for the next job, it is their obligation to report that they have past criminal records as an information to the company that they applied the job for. But then the selection is based on the eligibility, not based on the criminal records. So for the sake of protection, I beg you to oppose.